Hello, ghosties. I'm Chance Lee,
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
and this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. And Amanda, I think goats get a really bad rap in horror movies. And they do in this movie, The Dark
Mhm.
and the Wicked.
Halfway trials and temptations. Is there trouble anywhere? What a family had. Your mama, she was saying things. She would sit right beside him just whispering. But she wasn't talking to him.
We found it in her pocket. She didn't believe in God.
What does it matter whether you believe?
I found Mom's diary.
What if she saw something out there? Told y'all not to come. There are things in this world, horrible things, wicked, and they come for whoever they want.
I saw something.
She wasn't crazy.
Do you smell him? He's close now.
He's not out there. He's already here.
Released in 2020, The Dark and the Wicked was written and directed by Bryan Bertino. It stars Marin Ireland as Louise, a woman whose parents live on an isolated farm in rural Texas. Michael Abbott Jr. as Michael, her brother, and Xander Berkeley as Father Thorn, a mysterious priest. And this is the story of dying parents and demon possession.
Mhm. Yeah, good times.
So this movie had, I couldn't find the budget, unknown budget,
Oh.
and very small box office gross of about $500,000, but because it was a pandemic movie, I didn't even know it was released in theaters. It
Mm,
was acquired and initially distributed by Shudder.
yes.
And it's a critical darling, 91% critical tomato, and polarizing among audiences. There's a 62% audience rating.
Which is, I think, unfair, but we'll get into it.
We have a lot to say. Matt Zoller Seitz of RogerEbert.com gave it 3 out of 4 stars. He said, while your mileage may vary, I preferred the earlier parts of the film to the rest because hell starts to break loose pretty fast, and the remaining story seems to have been creakily extruded by having the main characters experience horrific and inexplicable things, but then refuse to communicate with each other about them. And sometimes there isn't enough breathing room between shocks and scares to create the sort of buildup that would make them devastating, as opposed to momentarily effective. He says that's not necessarily a deal breaker. The last 2/3 of the movie are merely very good, while the first section is perfect and daring for how it demands that the audience adjust to a slower pace and let their imaginations do a lot of the work.
I
So, what
agree
did
with
you think of this movie?
I really enjoyed it. I put off watching it for a long time because the main criticism I heard of it was that it was really boring and slow. And I think that is a very unfair criticism. Um, I was hooked on this movie. I think that review kind of nailed it on the head where it said that, it basically forces the audience to approach it with like a slow mindset almost. Um, I really liked it. I first of all, this was one of the scariest movies I feel like I've watched in a while. This might be like the spookiest movie we've ever talked about. Um, there are things in this movie that genuinely scare me to my core, and I couldn't stop thinking about afterwards. And I'm like, when I think back on them now, like I feel visceral fear. Like I'm sitting in a brightly lit room talking to you, and I think about like a particular scene, and it's like I get shivers. Um, and I'm not trying to like overhype it because I'm sure there are people who it's a little, I guess textbook scares a lot of the stuff. Like it might be seen as like cheesy, easy shot scares, but if they're effective, I don't care. Um, so yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I'm really happy, we watched it. Um, I'm happy I sat down and paid attention to it. Really liked it. I'm excited to rewatch it, which I think is a huge thing. Um, so yeah, what's your relationship with this movie?
So I had seen it before,
Mhm.
and I saw it on, I think I got a free trial of Shudder just to watch it because
Mm,
I had heard good things about it. I think it was before people kind of turned on it.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm dead inside and don't get scared by things.
Yeah.
And this movie freaked me the fuck out. I don't think I've been scared by a movie in at least a decade. And
Yeah.
this movie really scared me. And same, rewatching it, I was kind of scared to rewatch it. I was like dreading stuff that was coming up because I had forgotten enough about it that I
Mhm.
forgot a lot of the specifics. I just remembered it being scary, and it was still scary. Like, and I think to your point, there are some quote unquote like cheap jump scares. It does the like loud, like violin, it's
Yeah.
scary moments. But what it's doing, but it's actually freaky. Like
Yeah.
without the music and stuff, it's still freaky. It's not like the Conjuring movies where
Yes.
it's like, Tyler Perry's boo. Like it's just boo. Like the Conjuring movies are just boo for an hour and a
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
And there's nothing inherently scary about the Conjuring movies. And they're just jump scares. This movie is like deeply, deeply disturbing. And
Mhm.
I think that's why I'm more forgiving for the jump scares, because once the jump is gone, it's you kind of wish it wasn't. Like, I don't know, you're kind of
Yeah.
like, oh shit, it's still scary. Like, I don't
Yes.
know. It's really, really well done. I think I just yeah, I'll say more about it in a bit.
Yeah.
Um, but what I think this might be a good place to talk about why the general public seems to hate this for being slow,
Mhm.
boring, pointless. They don't like a lot of reviews I read from people don't like the ending.
Yeah.
Um, and one review on Rotten Tomatoes says that I don't enjoy horror where the characters have no actual agency to resist evil.
Um,
And I thought that was an interesting um point.
I think it's an interesting point, but also it's not so much that they don't have agency, it's that this is a very, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it a lot with like the director. This is a very nihilistic movie. I
Perfect word.
I really like a horror movie, and again, I think this is going to come up a lot when we talk about the director's other movies, that it's scary just for the sake of wrong place, wrong time, like you're shit out of luck scary.
Yeah.
That's the scariest to me because it doesn't matter what choice. I mean, again, we'll get into it, but there are choices in this movie that I absolutely would have made that I think the characters are making the right choices. So it's even harder when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And I can see how that's not for everyone. Um, and I think if every horror movie was like that, I would be burnt out, exhausted, and never want to watch a movie again. But every once in a while, it's kind of nice. It's
Yeah,
like,
I'm not sure why this is the movie that broke people. Like there's so
right.
many movies that like you mentioned the criticism that people have where they like, "Oh, if I have to watch another trauma
Yeah,
horror movie again. Why was it this
right.
one?
Yeah, and I feel like because a lot of the criticisms I saw, mostly on Letterboxd, were that this was like Hereditary light. Um, and as someone who Hereditary is one of my favorite movies, I don't mind. Why would I mind that? Like, I don't want a Hereditary sequel. Give me Hereditary inspired movies.
Hmm.
Um, and it it's yeah, it's not reinventing the wheel in that sense, but it's doing it well. Like I don't know. It's just kind of a weird criticism. Like I do kind of get it and agree in a way, but maybe not so much as a criticism, just as a point to make.
Exactly. It's a point to
Yeah.
make. I don't know why that turned people against this movie.
Mhm.
And I'll use this as a transition into talking about the director before we go
Yeah.
back to the cast. But I don't think this is a trauma movie because the
Hmm.
trauma hasn't happened yet. They're
That's
living
true.
through it. This isn't a movie about trauma. Hereditary is. You've got Toni
Yes.
Collette who like had the abuse of her mother and then she's passing that on to her kids. That's the
Mhm.
trauma informed horror movie. This is a movie about fear. Like this
Right.
is just a movie about fear at its core. What do I do? You know, my dad is dying, I'm scared. My mom is losing her mind, I'm scared. Like that we're isolated in Texas, I'm scared. Like this is just a movie about fear.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's nihilistic. It's just like it's the fear that something will happen to you without any regard to, bad things happen to good people. Like there's
Mhm.
no karma, there's no morals in this movie. It's just
Right.
bad things happen and you can't
Yeah.
do anything about it.
That's a really, really good point. I really like that you said that because the only drama, I guess, is that it's semi-implied that one of the characters like lost her fiance or something, the main character. I was a little bit confused by that. Um, but even that, like the only real glimpse you sort of get where there's like some emotion with that particular situation is her mom is making her a wedding dress. Like it seems like she has this supportive, fairly decent, maybe not perfect, but again, fairly decent family. And you're right, it is the fear of losing that too, I think.
I think you could do a reading of this movie where none of this is actually happening,
Mm,
but also like I think it works best as a metaphor. Like it's just
yeah,
all metaphorical for these fears that we have.
right.
Like the brother character, what's his name? Is
Oh,
his name Michael?
I think it's Michael or Matthew? I think it's Michael.
Because I think it is, but then the actor's name is also Michael, which always throws
I
me.
think so too.
But
Yeah.
um, because he has the scene later in the movie where he goes home and his family is dead,
Most
and
beautiful scene.
again it's just like you have this fear like I've lost my parents. What's
Yeah,
next? What if I lose the rest of my family? Like
right.
it's these places that your brain goes, and this movie takes those fears that we all I think have at our core and
Mhm.
makes them real for these characters in the movie, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it so deeply upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I really like the point about reading it as fear.
And that puts it in, especially when you put it into context with the rest of his movies. So
Mhm.
Bryan Bertino hit the scene with The Strangers in
Yes.
2008, which predated The Purge, people showing up at your house in masks to kill
Yeah.
you. And unlike The Purge, which there's like a purpose, there's a purge.
Yeah.
Um, this is just literally people show up at Liv Tyler's house and
Yeah.
kill her. Like
Right.
that's it.
Isn't
And oh,
I was gonna say, isn't like the famous quote, like she's crying, like, why are you doing this? And they say, because you were home. Like, I don't think it gets more nihilistic and depressing than that.
exactly. And this movie does an extra sadistic thing where it opens where it says it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
So it is really saying this could happen to you. It's saying this has
Right.
happened to other people, even though that's total bullshit.
Yeah.
Like stuff like this has happened. There have been break-ins and people have been killed, and it's terrible. But the true story that The Strangers is based on is that once as a child, someone knocked on the door of Bryan Bertino's family home,
Yeah.
and they didn't answer the door, and they later found out that those people were robbing houses. So
Hilarious.
it like could have happened, but
Yes.
like that's the true story that they
Yes.
like keep that going.
I love it.
So he also did a movie called The Monster, which
Mhm.
is an that one I didn't think was very good. That was in
Mhm.
2016. Um where a mom who is kind of abusive.
Okay.
Why? Who knows? The movie never
Yeah.
really gets at it. And there's her daughter, and they end up in a car accident in the woods, and then there's a monster. It's like
Okay.
almost literally the plot of Cujo, the Stephen King book from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like it's just Cujo. That one didn't quite work.
Okay.
That one has the same thing where it has a fake fairy tale at the beginning.
Oh,
It says it's from like a 19th century fairy tale. It has this
that's
quote, and I was
hilarious.
Googling it, and the only times it comes up is people quoting that as if it's real.
That's so funny. I love that people can just lie in movies. I love that so much.
Yeah, and people buy it.
Yeah.
But he also wrote, there was a sequel to The Purge called
Mhm.
The Strange sorry, excuse me, not The Purge, The
Right.
Strangers. The Strangers: Pray at Night, which Bryan Bertino wrote and someone else directed. That movie fucking slaps. I
Really?
couldn't believe it.
Really?
Yes, I it might honestly be because of just one scene from that movie, but this
Okay.
movie has one of the best horror movie scenes I've ever seen.
Really?
This movie fucking rules. Like, I don't know.
That's
it's
so
it's
funny.
I was not expecting it because I was not engaged early
Yeah.
on. I said, here we go again.
Right.
And you know the MO, there's gonna be people who unfortunately are being hunted for no reason.
Right.
Um, but it's not as boring as The Strangers.
Okay.
You have more characters, you have two adults and two children. Like
Okay.
they're teenagers, but it's
Mm.
parents and kids. We have better actors. Christina Hendricks is in it.
Oh,
Um, Martin Henderson, who was in The Ring and
okay.
X. And so there's more going on. It's not as dull as the first
Right.
Strangers. But yeah, there's this one scene with a swimming pool. You'll know it when you get there.
Ooh.
It is so fucking badass. Um,
Really?
I thought this movie was so satisfying. Um, and still managed to have the same like nihilistic bleakness
Okay.
of a Bryan Bertino film, but
Right.
didn't it didn't leave you gutted in the end, which
Interesting.
was kind
All
of
right. I'll have
nice.
to watch that. Yeah.
Highly recommend it. I watched that one on Tubi.
Oh, Tubi. Gotta love it.
But Bryan Bertino was born in Texas.
Mm.
He was born in Tarrant County, where I was also born.
Really?
Yes, which is the greater Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
So not as isolated as this movie, The Dark and the Wicked, but maybe I don't know where he grew up. He was born there,
Yes.
but I don't know where he grew up. But once you go west of Fort Worth, Texas, it's
Uh-huh.
fucking scary out there.
Really?
I don't like it.
Is that the I had a old coworker who was from Texas, and he always talked about the hill country. Is that hill country?
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
It's
wouldn't be
it's
surprised.
yeah. Yeah. Hill
There's nothing
country.
there. You leave Fort Worth heading west, and I swear to God, there's a sign that says like El Paso, 540 miles, and you're like, is that it? Is
Yeah.
that it between here and
Right.
there? And the answer is pretty much yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So I feel like that's where the people in this movie live.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Wait, so do you know about the filming location?
yes, I wanted to get to that
Okay.
when we talk about the house.
Okay. Then I will put a pin in it.
Let's put a pin in that, and we'll go back to the cast of the movie.
Yes.
So our star here is Marin Ireland.
Yeah.
star of stage and screen. I guess
Mhm.
she is a award-winning theater actress and New York theater
Oh,
actress.
okay.
And I've seen her in a couple of things. In this, and she was in like 2 episodes of Girls, I think.
Oh, really?
Did you watch Girls?
Is that the is that Selena Dunham?
Yep.
Yeah, I never watched it enough to form an opinion on it.
Oh, I was obsessed with Girls. I loved that
Really?
show so much.
Yeah.
And there's a season where Lena Dunham's character Hannah gets accepted to the Iowa writing workshop,
Oh,
and she
okay.
goes there to get her master's degree. And
Huh.
Marin Ireland is one of the other students in her
Oh,
cohort.
okay.
So also, isolated fear of being with Hannah Horvath, that
Yeah,
character who just kind of tortured everyone.
yeah.
And I say that as a compliment. I loved Girls. Um, and then she's in Eileen,
Yes. Yeah, great movie.
another bleak
Who is she
one.
in that though? Is she
There's a boy who went to prison for killing his dad, and she's the mom.
Oh. Oh, okay, okay. I kind of remember that.
Hmm.
Interesting.
So she seems to be good at playing, like, I don't know, tormented rural people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, she is.
yeah. And she was the audiobook narrator for there's a book called Nothing to See Here by Kevin
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah, I actually listened to that and I didn't realize it was her until I looked her up for this movie. I was so excited. I've listened to her before for like
Was
12
the book
hours.
good? Yeah.
Yes, I loved it. 'Cause that was one I think you recommended to me, but
I'd read it.
yes, yeah. The audiobook was really good. It was really well done. Um, I wish I'd paid, I guess, more attention to the narrator, but I remember really loving it. So,
The best
yeah,
narrators are the ones I think that don't draw attention to themselves.
that is true. That is a good point. And I'm pretty sure that one I listened to on Hoopla. So if your library has access to Hoopla, you can borrow that whenever you want.
I think that's a great book.
Yeah.
Also, that one takes place in Tennessee, so also kind of
That's
rural
right.
Midwest. She was born in California and like works in New York. I don't know how she plays these middle America women.
I gotta say,
Um,
she does a great job with the accent too.
oh, does she? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow,
Sh-
incredible.
She was in a movie that I have not seen called The Family Fang, which is based on another Kevin Wilson book.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder if there's some sort of connection there. Like, did he meet her on the set of this movie and then like recommended her for
Yeah. I would
for
honestly
the audiobook or something?
right. I would kind of be surprised if it didn't work that way. Like if she
Yeah.
just happened to be part of the Kevin Wilson universe.
And I really liked her, but I didn't she has like a little fandom. I don't know what
Oh,
the spark of this fandom is, but her name would pop up a few times. A lot of times in negative reviews of the movie, they would say she's very good or I watched it cuz she was in it.
oh,
So she was like a draw.
yeah.
Someone who I actually didn't note if this was an overwhelmingly positive or negative review, but Stephen G on Rotten Tomatoes said, I knew when I saw that Marin Ireland was in this, we'd be in for an emotional ride, and she isn't disappointing.
That's I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great.
So she was great in it. Um, I did not know we were watching now 3-time That's So Gothic appearance actor Xander Berkeley. He plays the priest.
Yep.
Do you know what movies we've seen him in? We've seen
No.
him in 2 other movies. He plays the deadbeat husband in Candyman, and he
The
plays
original?
the original, and he plays the deadbeat art teacher in Poison Ivy 2: Lily.
Stop it.
Yes, Camilla Bell's dad in the movie.
That is so funny.
Yeah, I had no idea that
Wow.
was him.
No, that is hilarious. He is our new Mia, I can't say her last name.
Mia Wasikowska.
Mia Vaskov. Yeah, he's our new one.
Yeah, he might be
He's
one of the most common actors.
yeah, that is so hilarious. I had no idea.
There was an interview with the actor who played Michael who said that I guess Xander Berkeley was only on set for like a day and a half. They did all the
Okay.
scenes with him very quickly. But he said the first hour on set, a spider fell out of a tree and onto his hat. And he kept it there and wanted it in as many shots as possible in the movie. But
My
the
God.
director went back in and edited it out of post because he thought it was too distracting.
That's so sad.
But I thought, what a fun actor choice. I'm going to keep this spider on my hat.
Love that. How
Yeah.
whimsical.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, he was one of my like that particular character and him by extension is part of a scene that gives me goosebumps when I think about it. So he is thoroughly creepy. Very good in this.
Which scene are you talking about?
Just when he's outside of the house and is telling them to come out, it's so simple, but so effective. And I do think a big part of it is probably his performance and just the way that he like is saying it. Like it's so eerie. Oh, like I want to like vomit thinking about the scene.
That's a good point. This movie, I think, is really understated at times and
Yeah.
simple in its scares.
Yeah, like it's such a simple scene and it feels almost ridiculous to say it like that was one of the scariest things I've seen, but it's just the build up to it. It's the knowing something isn't right. It, the isolation of the house. You know, you have this person standing in front of the house and then just beyond them is just miles and miles of nothing. Oh, it's so scary.
Yeah, and the confusion of it. What's going on
Yeah,
here?
right. Yes, absolutely. It's so good, and I'm assuming it's the same actor who is on the phone later with her, because she has to call, and even his voice on the phone is, like, very he's not spooky at that point, but it's very, like, emotional. It's such a gripping scene. Oh, I love everything about that aspect of the film, like, his character and what that is. I love it so much.
Yeah, he's really there to emphasize the unexplained
Yeah.
elements of this. I think the otherworldly
Mhm.
elements of it.
Right. Yeah. So good.
And then we have the brother, Michael,
Mhm.
who's played by a man named Michael
Yeah.
Abbott Jr. I was not familiar with him. He's a bit of a
Yeah.
who. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page,
Oh.
but he's in a lot of horror TV.
Oh, okay.
He's on The Last of Us, he's on Fear the Walking Dead. He's
Yeah.
a pretty heavily working actor.
Okay.
And he did an interview on a website that I was not familiar with called thepeoplesmovies.com.
Mm.
And that's where he shared the story about the spider on Xander
Yeah.
Berkeley's hat. And he says that he worked with Marin Ireland back in 2016 on a film called In the Radiant City, which I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And they only had one scene together. But he said that he doesn't say who. He says there was another actress that was supposed to play Louise in this movie,
Mm.
and they had to drop out because of scheduling. And he said to the producers that they should consider Marin. So we have him to thank for her
Wow.
being in this movie.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I really liked him. I think the great thing about him and Marin, and this is nothing to say like, about their looks or anything like that. It's just they just feel like real people. They
Yes.
really do. Like I it didn't feel like I was watching actors. Like, they really do just feel like genuine, real people, real siblings too, the way that they act together. Um, yeah, they were both just so good. They really added to the immersiveness.
Yeah, the movie would have a different vibe if it was Penelope Cruz. You'd be like, wait a second, the most beautiful
Yeah.
woman on the planet and her parents in rural Texas. Like, what's happening here? Like, it would just
Yeah,
be too distracting.
right. Or Marin, Ireland actually reminds me, I feel like a lot of, what's the name of the actress who is in, like, Long Legs and It Follows?
Micah
Um,
Monroe?
yeah, I feel like they kind of have a similar-ish vibe. but I feel like it would be just totally different with that actress, with Micah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just there's still something about her that I feel like isn't natural enough.
Yeah, Marin Ireland has this kind of, I don't know, quiet maturity to her that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate. And I mean, considering I think this was the movie I was watching and I was like, where do I know this woman from? And the fact that I
Mm,
remembered her from like the 10 minutes cumulative that she's in Girls was
right.
really something
Yeah.
for her. She really stood out.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the Gothic elements of this
Mm.
film. Our Gothic films have four traits: a girl, a guy, a house, and a haunt. Let's start with the house. You brought this up earlier.
Yep.
Where was this movie filmed?
So this was filmed in on location in Texas, and it was filmed at the director's family home.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you got this information. I did not. Do you know if this is the house he grew up in? Or
That I'm not sure.
yeah.
They just said, oh no, wait. I'm looking right at it. My poor reading comprehension.
Yes.
So, in the same interview with Michael Abbott, he says it was on a farm Bryan grew up on in the middle of
Wow.
nowhere, Texas. So
Oh
he
my
did.
goodness.
I just said I didn't know where he grew up.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
don't read.
Right.
Reading is hard. Reading is
It
hard.
is
That's why I watch
hard.
movies because reading is hard.
Exactly. I don't even
Um,
put subtitles on sometimes.
that's too much work.
Too much
Um,
work.
so yeah, he grew up on this rural farm, which puts a lot
Wow.
of this really into context.
Yes. I mean, I personally cannot relate to this at all. I born and bred in New England, where even the most rural areas are, n- none of them have more. Like, I feel like the absolute most isolated place in New England. I mean, unless you go up into like North Maine, um, I feel like the most isolated place is no more than like a 5-minute drive to at least some place semi-inhabited, like
Exactly.
this is like the kind of place where it's like you have to drive 30 minutes just to get to like a main road. And that is so freaky to me. That is horrifying. I cannot imagine living in a place like I've been camping really isolated places and things like that, but living day and day and day where you could be screaming bloody murder and no one would hear you. Like
Mm-hmm.
it, it does not, I cannot cannot wrap my brain around that. Um, yeah, this house is like it's so simple, but it's so terrifying.
Yeah, I also don't quite comprehend the scope of it. I have some
Mhm.
friends who live in like I would for here rural New
Mm,
Hampshire because they're like 30 minutes from Market Basket,
right.
but there's a neighbor.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
they have neighbors.
Right.
Like
Yes.
I just this is insane to me. Like I grew up in the South, but I grew up in a city in this
Mm,
for the South.
yes.
Like the tallest building was 4 stories tall, so it wasn't like a huge city. But again, I grew
Right.
up in a neighborhood. I grew up with people,
Yes.
and there were stores. Like this is horrifying to me, and the fact that anyone would want to live out there, I think is already a sign of mental illness. Like you already, just the fact that you want to live out there, that's a red flag.
Yes. Right. I know. It's so crazy to me. And it's so crazy to me that they're living in this house farming goats who I feel like probably don't need that much space. Like, why are you putting yourself through this? Like, if you
Right.
were raising like horses that, you know, I don't know, needed miles and miles. Do horses even need that much space? I don't think so. Actually, you might know. I don't know. I mean,
Well,
they do.
I wonder in the context of the movie, I don't think they mention this, but I wonder if maybe they used to have more animals. And now that they're
Oh,
older, it's just the goats.
I
Because
think,
they
you know
do
what? I think
mention
you're
at one
right.
point that they got a new goat and they're kind of like, why
Right.
did you get a new goat? I thought you weren't doing this anymore. Like I
Right.
think they might have downsized.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. They probably did, but still, I don't understand the appeal. I can't.
No, I don't either.
I can't. But
Find
yeah, and
farmland closer to a city.
yeah. Yeah, right. They have like community gardens now. Like you'll be fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, no, but and then the actual house is quite creepy. It's older. It has a really creaky old porch, which is great. It looks so teeny ti like, the actual house looks so teeny tiny from the outside.
Mhm.
I do feel like it's a little optical illusion-y, like, I think it is bigger on the inside, um, but it's, like, almost comical how small this house is on such a huge,
Yeah.
vast plot of land. Um, it's 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 a very creepy house.
The house feels very lived in, which I guess it
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
And the actor says that they shot it using everything that was already there.
Wow.
They used natural light. They said 90% of the shoots were overnight. They would
Wow.
have meal break at 3 in the morning. And they said they didn't have to act scared because it was really creepy out there anyway, because you hear all sorts of weird noises in the dark and you're isolated out there and it's
Yeah,
already scary.
yeah. No, that's horrifying. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Um, love that the house has a landline. Very spooky.
Yes. Yes.
Not nothing spookier than a landline.
I almost said that. I almost said that exact same thing. It's got the little curly phone cord and
Yes,
everything.
I love it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, very, very spooky.
So yeah, the house is great. I think that the house and the farm is like a
Mhm.
main character in the movie.
Yes.
Um, we have our girl, Louise. I would argue
Yep.
that both the siblings can be girls in this
Yeah,
case. They've been
right.
drawn in here against their will. I mean, it's inevitable, but no one wants to be in this situation. They don't
Yes.
want to have to deal with this. It's already sad, even if there wasn't a demon involved.
Right. I know one of your, like, least favorite tropes is the, like, um, you know, I'm not crazy and no one believes me kind of thing.
Hmm.
And there's definitely an element of that early, but it kind of makes sense. Like Luis is the first one to kind of be like, hey, this is scary and fucked up. But the brother comes around, I would say, very fast. Um,
Yes.
he even starts to have his suspicions before he starts seeing creepy things. Like, you know, he mentions how um the police officer says something about how the mother who hung herself used the tub to get up, but he even
Hmm.
mentions, "But you brought the tub over." Like, he comes around pretty fast, and that's very satisfying. Um,
Yes.
and in the same vein, he does like, when I was talking earlier about how the characters make a lot of choices that I would make, he makes the choice to leave and go be with his family, and,
Yeah.
like, I kinda got it. I was like, "Yeah, get the hell out." He has a family, no offense, Luis, like, I totally understood why he did that, and he made a rational decision, and obviously it still didn't end up well for him, and it genuinely is one of the most devastating scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. Um, but yeah, the both of them, like, are very believable characters, and both just, like, you really feel for them.
Yeah, and I don't think it's quite fair, the criticism that the Roger Ebert critic made about how the characters don't talk to each other. I don't think it's
Oh,
just an arbitrary, like that happens in a lot of movies where it's very arbitrary. But this family is not close,
yes,
and there's weird stuff happening and they don't communicate with each other. So it
right.
while it is convenient to the plot, it also feels organic that these characters aren't really speaking. And also, I would argue that they do talk about it. Like they do
Yeah,
say that there's stuff going on and they don't talk about everything, but like I don't think
absolutely.
you would either at first. You wouldn't be like, I saw mom floating last night. Like you would
Right,
maybe keep that to yourself like for a beat. He
yes.
like
Yeah,
like I don't
like
know, it just feels real.
yeah, and they both, again, like, make, I think, the rational decision where they both come together and are like, "We need to get dad out of this house, like, let's call a doctor." Whereas I feel like in another movie, it would have been easy to have one of them be like, "No, dad needs to stay at the farm, like, this is his home, blah, blah, blah." But they both were like, "Nope, let's wrap this up, let's get him out of here."
Yep.
Like, again, I feel like yeah, maybe they're not having some 20-minute discussion on film about it and how devastating it is that this is happening on their family farm and blah blah blah. Like, but they're agreeing and they're communicating in that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And back to the point you said about him leaving, it's
Mm,
also it's like it's cold, a little cold, but he says to Louise,
right.
"I knew you would stay."
Yeah. Right.
Like, and he was right. Like
Yeah.
they know each other. They're not close and they don't really communicate, but they know each
Right.
other. And
Yeah.
it
And
just
how
yeah, it feels very organic and
right. And how
honest.
many times do you yell at the TV screen during a horror movie being like, "Why wouldn't you just leave?" Like, and he
Hmm.
was like, "Yep. Nope, that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing."
And the movie in its deep bleakness
Mhm.
basically says you can't run from this.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
So I don't think we have a guy in any way. I don't think we can even
Yeah. The devil? I don't know.
insinuate it. I know our demon.
Yeah.
We our haunt is a demon.
Mhm.
Typically my least favorite haunt, but
Mm.
I don't mind it in this one.
Yeah.
I had to come to terms with the demon in Hereditary because I remember watching the movie the first time and thinking, I hope it isn't a demon.
Yeah.
And then it became a demon.
Right.
And I had to come to terms with that. But I think because this one, it's completely unexplained,
Yeah. Like,
makes it
technically
better.
yeah, technically we're saying it's a demon, but technically we don't really know. Um, and yeah, I love that was actually another criticism I saw, is that it felt unsatisfying. I liked it. I liked not knowing exactly what was happening. Like you said earlier, like, it could hypothetically not even be happening or, like, happening in
Hmm.
this supernatural way. Like, you could view the movie that way because it is left so ambiguous. I like it.
Yeah, like everything, because you have the mother, like again, they're put in this horrible situation where their
Mhm.
dad is dying and their mother has committed suicide, and they feel guilty for not noticing it sooner. And again, the mother's writing these things in her diary. Like, you can think that's a demon, or you can think this is a woman who's isolated in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and is losing her mind. Like,
Right.
all of these scenes can go a couple different ways, and the
Mhm.
ambiguity is what's satisfying about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I actually usually am not a huge fan of not getting answers in my horror movies, but I think it worked really well with this one.
I think the movie gives you the answers it wants you to have, which
Yeah.
is this sucks.
Yeah.
The movie gives you that answer. That's the only
Right.
answer it wants to give you, and it gives you that. And
Yes.
um and I hate when the demons have names like
Yeah.
Paimon and Pazuzu.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to deal with a stupid name. Um
Exactly.
it's just ugh, it's just
Yeah.
fucking creepy. And
Did
they never
you,
show anything. Like, it's
yeah.
just, I don't know. I think it's really masterfully done.
This is a total side note, but just about demons having names. Um, you never watched Supernatural, did you? The show?
No, I know of it because it was on for
Yes.
like 27 years, but I didn't watch it.
My sister-in-law is watching the entire thing right now, and she's gotten to the point
Wow.
where one of the main characters gets possessed by a demon, and the main character's name is Dean, and so it's marketed as he's Dean-mon. Um, so, you know,
Wow.
I'm really happy that's not what we're working with here.
That sounds like Jamaican. It's Dean Mon. Jamaican demon. It's Jamaican him crazy, man. I didn't
You're
say
making
that.
them
We're gonna
crazy,
be
yeah.
canceled.
Right, yeah.
Um
Anyways, so we will be talking about Supernatural on an episode.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I think we should watch season 1 through 5 and
Oh, dear
do our
God.
best.
All right. See you in 2029. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Well,
anyways.
with all of that considered, our girl, our house, our demon, do you think this movie is gothic, goth-ish, or no gothic?
I think it's Gothic. I I do. I think it's Gothic. You know what it is this movie reminds me of the painting, American Gothic, with the 2 farmers. That is
Okay,
the mom and
yep.
dad.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the mom and dad. They have
Yeah.
this creepy ass building behind them, and they both look kind of miserable. This
Yeah.
movie is American Gothic painting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your opinion though?
I agree. I went into this thinking goth-ish,
Mm,
but I think I was forgetting the whole concept of American Gothic, which we had focused on like last year or something.
yes.
And it really does fit fit into that.
Right.
Because what is like the American Gothic is rooted in this fear of the unknown
Mhm.
from like the colonialists and being alone in the woods and what's out there in the woods.
Mm,
And this is that for the modern generation, the ultimate unknown, death, what's
yeah,
happening, what's going on out there. Like
right.
it's rooted in that fear.
Yeah.
Um and it being home, it's just this family, this little family unit makes it
Mhm.
more gothic as well, I think. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
think there's
you've
something very
convinced me.
Gothic about terrible things happening to people. Like, I feel like a lot of times when we talk about Gothic and in the frame of Gothic, it's not necessarily people being making their choices ending up in bad places, but there are a series of decisions that are made that that person ends up there. But I think there's also something really Gothic about just getting your shit rocked for no reason. I really do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens. It's out of their control.
Yeah.
They try their best to get out.
Mhm.
It has that feeling of isolation that is triggering to me. I think in a
Mhm.
way it's almost not as suffocating because because like you said, the brother leaves, it's like they don't quote unquote have to stay, but
Yeah.
they do, the family ties are keeping them there. The guilt
Yes.
is keeping them there.
Yeah.
So it's more complex than the usual, like I've locked you in or
Yeah.
you're princess of a country and the whole country's watching you. Like those
Yes.
those classic gothic tropes.
Classic Gothic
You're
tropes.
being forced to perform in a casino because your manager is of unknown Eastern European descent and won't travel outside of the country. Those classic gothic tropes.
Favorite Gothic movies.
As a side note, new book coming out about Colonel Tom Parker, so I gotta
Yes.
gotta check that out.
So
But no,
excited.
I agree with you. American Gothic.
American Gothic. Yeah. Yeah. Great movie. And I think more people should watch it and be a little bit more open-minded when they watch it.
I agree. Like, also, I want to go. I didn't get petty enough to go. Like, I want to go back and see what these people
Yeah.
reviewed this of The Strangers, because The Strangers is arguably infinitely more boring than this,
Yeah.
and much more slow. Literally, nothing happens for like an
Right.
hour in that
Yeah.
movie.
Right.
Like, just get the fuck out of here.
I hate to sound like a boomer, but it's like, I, you know what? Am I going to say it? I am. I hate to sound like a boomer, but I think problem was that this was released basically straight to streaming. And I'm sorry, people, because I'm guilty of this too, 1,100%. It's why I still go to the movie theater all the time. It is hard for me to sit still and watch a quieter movie at home.
Yes.
I think that if this had had a bigger theatrical release, and I think it's like the top review on Letterboxd, someone makes this point. If this had A24 logo on it, people would be eating this shit
Yes.
up.
Yes.
Um,
100%.
but yeah, I do think a part of the problem is that it was basically a streaming movie, came out at, the beginning of the pandemic. And again, I'm trying not to sound like such a pissy, judgmental person because I am this person too. People couldn't put their phone down during this and were upset when they missed some of the really great subtle parts of it.
Yeah, it's hard to pay attention.
Mm,
And I do sympathize with that, but maybe
yes.
don't judge the movie for your own inability to pay attention.
Yes. Right.
Yeah,
Because I do that, but I'm perfect and I'm the one with the podcast.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're the ones talking about it. No,
Yes.
but really, I do think this movie deserves more of a chance. I think if you didn't like it, try watching it again, and, like, really lock in. Like, just lock in.
Yeah, it's really worth it. I think it's
Mhm.
very moody. I don't even think it's that slow. I think there's just so many
No.
layers to it and
Yeah,
nuance
yeah,
that I don't know, it's very engaging and the
it
performances are
is.
so good.
Yeah.
And it's short. It's like a tight 90
It
minutes.
is. That's the other yeah, we didn't even touch on that. I love yeah, the length of this movie I thought was absolutely perfect.
I think The Strangers: Pray at Night was
Mhm.
like an hour 18 or something. It
Stop.
wasn't even an hour and 20 minutes.
That is so funny. That is like an
Y-
episode of television.
Yeah, and it's perfect for that
Yeah,
movie.
interesting. I do have to watch that now.
Well, are there any memorable scenes you wanted to discuss in this movie?
So, I mean, the main one I kind of already brought up, the one that just sends chills down my spine is when the priest shows up in front of the house. There's something just so frightening about that to me, and it feels so realistic and just like it could happen. That one really, really got to me, and I couldn't stop thinking about. And then we didn't really discuss like the character or anything, but there is sort of this like B plot character. He's like a ranch hand or something, and he lives
Yes.
in a trailer, I think, on the property, but still very, very far away because
Yeah.
property is huge. And the scene where he passes away, where he kills himself, is probably like the most actiony, like scary scene, like the scene with the most actually like happening because it is Louise, right? Am I correct? It was kind of hard to
It's
tell.
like a Phantom Louise, yeah,
Right,
visits
right. It's
him and she's like covered in
cut up.
knife slashes.
Yeah, yeah. And she like manifests in his trailer. It's really creepy. It's like she just kind of comes out of like the floor. Um, and that scene just I don't want to like say too much because I think if you see it, you'll get it. Like it's just so unnerving and just ugh. And then just really quickly too, I know I've talked about it a couple times already, but the scene with her brother coming home to just this white suburban house. You think he's in safety, you think he made it, and it it is devastating. It
Yeah.
is truly devastating. It's so incredibly difficult. Like, this is not a movie that wants you to feel good.
No, not at all. The scene you
Yeah,
mentioned with the poor ranch hand
yeah.
is another really good scene because it's so sad, it's so bleak. You can also see it without the supernatural element. Like a lot of
Right.
scenes in this movie, he feels guilty. He's supposed to be caring for these people in a way with
Mhm.
because their children aren't there. He's their
Right.
only touchstone to the outside world, and he feels like he missed everything because the mom has killed herself. She's snapped and
Yes.
killed herself, and he feels this guilt for it. So you can see what happens to him happening even if he wasn't being visited by maybe a demon.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any additional scenes you would like to
I'll mention
share?
two.
Okay.
One, I think there's a really beautiful shot. We were talking about another movie that has people think have beautiful shots in it, but they all look fake. This movie, like they use natural lighting. Like
Mhm.
I there's this gorgeous sunset shot in the goat graveyard of all places, but just
Yes.
the sky at sunset is so beautiful, and the fact that they did the work for this movie. They're out there, they're filming in the woods, they're filming at these golden hours. Like it's
Mhm.
a really great shot that I'm glad they captured. And
Yeah.
then I don't know if I've ever shared this story. This movie makes me think of something that happened to me, my own demon possession. No, but this is a really traumatic story that I'll share on the podcast. So it's not real. It's not really. Well, it kind of
Okay.
is.
Okay.
But it's a movie. Something that happened to me that makes me also really sympathize with the
Mhm.
characters and kind of what they're going through in a way that other movies I would write it off. For instance, there's a scene where Louise wakes up and dad is on the ceiling
Yes.
and it's really freaky and it turns out that's a dream.
Yes.
And cynical me would be like, what a cheap
Right.
scare. But empathetic me, who's lived through something similar, remembers the time where I have some friends whose mother was in the well, she was further along than I think they would have liked to admit into the
Yeah.
stages of dementia. And they were trying to get some sort of care for her. But in the meantime, we're really struggling. And she was living with them.
Yeah.
And they're a married couple. So it's one of their mother, and then the other person in the marriage, their mother was also struggling in a different
Oof.
state.
Wow.
So they had to go visit the other mother, and they asked me to stay with their mom, basically
Right.
babysit their mom. And I knew the family very well.
Yes.
I've spent a lot of time with them, but I was not equipped to deal with this.
Yes.
And so I was going through a lot in my own life. And then on top of this, having to deal with what I was not prepared for. I was not
Yeah.
prepared for how far things had progressed since I had last
Yeah.
seen them. So I was trying to sleep, and they had left me some weed, which I don't really smoke.
Yeah.
And I was really upset. I was like, I'm going through all this and I don't know how to deal with your mother, and I can't even figure out how to light the bowl. And like and so
Yeah.
I don't know if the couple hits I took affected this or not, but
Mm.
I fell asleep, and I had this dream that the mother had crawled up the stairs on all
Oh,
fours and was
yeah.
at the foot of my bed with her head turned around backwards, and was screaming my name. And then I woke up and she was screaming my name.
Yeah. Oh
But
my
thankfully,
God.
from the foot of the stairs, she hadn't skittered up the stairs.
Ah,
But I woke up, I was screaming. Like
yes.
I have never felt anything like that before, and thankfully since. But anyway, I share that because normally I would write things off in the
Right.
movie because of that. But it's like, I can see how that would happen.
Yes.
I can see how one might have a dream like that.
Right.
So, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really highlights how dreams really are influenced by what you're actually going through and real life
Yes.
trauma that you're living through. And um, yeah, I mean, I think it was very obviously the dream itself wasn't, but I think having a dream like that is very realistic. It's something a lot
Yes.
of people deal with. And yeah, I mean, a lot of what she experienced with her father, again, I don't know how much of it was because, like, specifically, I thought you were gonna bring up there's a part where she's in the shower and
Oh my god, that scares the
yeah, it's
shit
like
out of
the
me.
curtain opens and it's her father, and then he's also just standing there and it's like implied he's peeing down his leg, and that is something that I would have no trouble believing that she actually was, mentally visualizing. Like, I
Yep,
have that makes sense for something just a trauma that someone would imagine. Like, that
exactly.
does not read demon to me. That reads very much something that she could just be imagining and going through. And I think that's part of the beauty of this movie is there is so much of it that I think it's pretty strongly implied it's supernatural, but there's so much of it that's like, no, that's very realistic. Like that imagination part is absolutely something people think about.
Right, and the trauma keeps just layering, not the trauma, but, because this is not a
Yeah.
trauma movie,
Right.
but the bad
Yes.
things keep layering and layering on top of them, and they're isolated, so of course these fears that they have are gonna magnify.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
This is a bleak movie with no happy ending, but
Yes.
I will leave it on this note, which was in a negative review of the movie by someone named Rob S on Rotten Tomatoes, and he does say there was a cute lamb at one point, and that's about the only redeeming factor.
Oh,
But he
it
did
is a
like the
really
cute
cute
lamb.
lamb. It's a really cute lamb.
And I
It's
will say,
really sweet.
we don't get a lot of movies where a three-legged goat gets work. A three-legged goat got to do some work in this movie,
He
so got to
really
shine.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It really was his moment.
Well, what else have you been enjoying, Amanda?
So I've been really lucky in that I feel like I've watched a lot of really great movies recently. I think I talked about it last year on the podcast, but last year was the first year I made it a point to try to watch all of the Best Picture nominees. So this year, I thought I would get ahead of it and watch some of the movies that I think are going to get nominated. And I just saw Hamnet in theaters with Jessie Buckley and, oh, I'm blanking on the actor's name, um, Paul Mescal. And
Oh, okay. From
yeah,
the not Gothic
Gladiator.
movie we watched. Oh,
Oh,
and Gladiator. He was in Eternal Daughter or Lost Daughter,
he was in
wasn't
Lost.
he? Wasn't he the pool boy?
Oh, you're right. Okay, see, now I was getting confused thinking of the Eternal Law. I forgot he was in
Right.
Lost Daughter.
Yes.
Yes.
He was in the one we
Um,
actually talked about that was not Gothic at all.
yeah, so
Yes.
he's in this and he's so good.
Okay.
It was such a beautiful movie. Like, I feel like it's gonna get a lot of hype. I think it's already getting great reviews, so it almost feels pointless for me to like hype it up so much. Um, but it was just so gorgeous and wonderful. And if you can see it in theaters, I do recommend it because it's so incredibly lush. It's one of those movies that really just makes you like, it just made me feel like this is gonna sound so fucking cheesy, but it just made me feel like there was magic in everyday life. Like,
Oh, I love
w-
that.
sorry I sound like a, Hallmark commercial movie, but it was just really, really lovely. Jessie Buckley is incredible in it. If she doesn't win Best Actress, I don't know who will. There's a point. So, do you know the basic plot of Hamnet?
Is this based on a novel?
Yes, so it's based on a novel about William Shakespeare. And so this is, the story is true, but obviously it's novelized. So like
Right.
basically the the basis of it is true, but 90% of it is like fiction or made up essentially. But William Shakespeare, um so and his wife, who I always thought her name was Anne Hathaway because of the actress, but apparently you actually pronounce it Anne or something. They pronounce it a funny
Sure.
way. So anyways, the two of them, it's so the beginning of the movie is actually how they meet, and it's like very sweet and very romantic and very cute. I really, really like it. And then they go on to have kids, and they have a little girl and then a set of twins, a little girl and a little boy. And um long story short, the little boy ends up passing away. His name is Hamnet. And so a lot of the movie is obviously about the grief surrounding losing a child. Um, I don't think it's ever been like officially proven that Shakespeare wrote Hamlet sort of in honor of his son Hamnet, but I guess it is like those two names are actually interchangeable. Um,
Mm.
so basically the movie is like him sort of working through his grief by writing this, and but a lot of it centers around Jessie Buckley and her being this mother who has lost her child, and now her husband is also distant because he's like this famous
Mm.
playwright. Um, she has this moment where she's crying, obviously. It's a very sad movie, and she's crying so hard that she starts like hiccuping, and I genuinely
Wow.
thought to myself, I didn't know adults could do that. Like, I
Wow.
thought that was something reserved for children. Like, I
Yeah.
genuinely did not know that adult human beings could put themselves to that point. Um, it's really, really, really beautiful. I saw it so then on a lighthearted note, I saw it with my grandmother, who I love going to see movies with because she
Oh.
usually says something pretty unhinged. Um, and so like excited to see this movie with her because, she's my last grandparent alive. She's lost a lot of people in her life. She has lost her husband and she's lost a child. My aunt passed away. And so I'm like, you know, as sick as it sounds, kind of excited to see this with her because I'm like, I feel like
Mhm.
this is going to be really beautiful and like really, you know, get her feeling things and, you know, getting emotional. So we walk out of the movie theater and I said, Ginny, did you cry at this? And she went, no. I just went, you heartless wench. What is wrong with you? I was sobbing the whole time. So, it's really a spoiler. Like, throughout the movie, so this little boy very obviously dies. Throughout the movie, like, you kind of get like glimpses of him. Like, it's not like so much that he's a ghost, but you know, it's like, and she just goes, I couldn't tell if he was actually dead or not. I was like, we're done.
He's just
And
hiding.
I'm not taking you to the movies anymore. We're done here. Thought I was gonna have a lovely conversation with you about grief and like, family love. And you're like, like, I'm done here.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And then she, of course, and then she goes, I really had to go to the bathroom at the end. It's too long. All right. This is why I can't.
Oh my
Why we can't
goodness.
see nice things together, Jenny. So, anyways, really loved the movie. Like genuinely 5 out of 5. One of the best movies I've seen this year. Do not take your
Wow.
grandmother to go see it. Um, yeah. Also, side note, the child actors in it are so good.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
because obviously, like, they have to be in it a lot, and I feel like they do. To be fair, like, they're pretty much just, you know, it's a movie where they just have to be kids. Um, so, but oh my goodness, they're so good and like not at all distractingly bad. Really like the kid actors were great.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's my review of Hamnet. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it.
And that's Chloe Zhao who did Nomadland a few years ago, which I never saw,
Yes.
but she's already
Me
an
neither.
Oscar darling. So yeah, she
Yes.
probably will show up again.
Yeah. I've never seen Nomadland. I don't think I really want to because from what I understand, it doesn't have a lot of plot. Like it's
Hmm.
not a very story-centric movie, which is kind of
Hmm.
funny because I feel like this movie, like Hamnet, is it's all plot. I mean,
Mm,
it's beautiful, but it's very much a story, you know. So I think that's interesting for her to do. But
hmm.
yeah, it was shot beautifully, and again, the performances were just like absolutely incredible.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, do you have anything you would like to share with the class?
Yes, yeah. So I saw a documentary on
Mm.
Tubi that I really liked. Um, and it was called My Kid Could Paint That. Have you seen this before?
No, but I'm gonna assume it's about like modern art.
Correct.
Wow.
So I forget when this was made, around '07 or '08.
Okay.
And it was about this family who has two kids, a little boy whose name I don't recall, and a daughter who's like 5, and her name's Marla. And allegedly, the dad once gave Marla some paints and a canvas, and she like smudged all over them. And they had a friend who owned an art gallery. And he
Mm,
said, "Oh, that's cute. I'll hang it up in my art gallery and just have it there." And then someone saw it and wanted to purchase it.
mm,
And then things kind of snowballed from there to where this young girl, Marla, who's 5, her paintings were selling for thousands and thousands of dollars.
wow.
And she was being seen as an art prodigy and was getting lots of media attention. So the family does an interview with 60 Minutes,
Mhm.
and they did not know until the episode aired and they were watching it
Oh
that
no.
60 Minutes called the validity of this into question. So they, during the 60 Minutes process, one of the interesting things about Marla is that she just can't do it when she's being filmed. She just gets too
Mm,
self-conscious to paint when she's being filmed.
Mhm.
So 60 Minutes set up a hidden camera with the family's permission in their basement and on a canvas and recorded.
Uh-huh.
So the family knew it was there, but the girl did not, so that she
Right.
would paint unobserved. And they do pick up a couple of times the dad being like, use the red, or like,
Mm.
do this. And so, but she did come up with a painting on her that she finished.
Right.
So during this episode of 60 Minutes, the interviewer, who I can't remember who it was, it doesn't matter, but he brings in an art expert and shows her some of Marla's paintings. And she's like, these are great, blah, blah, blah. Look at what they do here, blah, 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 blah. And then he shows her the painting that Marla did on the hidden camera, the only one they've actually filmed her doing. And she
Mm.
says, that looks like someone else did it. This looks like a child did it. She said, there's no way this is the same person did this one that did the other ones. And again, the family has no idea that this claim is going to be made until they watch it on 60
Yeah.
Minutes. I don't know how the documentarians got involved because they're filming them as they're watching 60 Minutes.
Interesting.
But and I don't, maybe that was staged for the documentary. I don't know. But
Mm.
so then Marla's talents are called into question, and the family is like maligned, and the family does this really frustrating thing where they're like, we just want Marla to be a child, we don't want her to have to deal with all this media attention. Then they
Right.
put in lots of effort to prove that she's the one actually doing these paintings.
Right.
So with their art gallery friend, they have her paint another painting that they film, and they make a DVD that they're going to sell with the painting. But the DVD is edited, so it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And there's this really interesting part of the documentary where they bring this woman, there's this rich woman in the art gallery who wants to buy one of Marla's paintings for whatever reason. I judge all of the people who want to buy this child's paintings. And for some reason, they're really trying to pressure her into buying this painting that Marla painted on the DVD. And unprompted, the woman goes, it looks like someone else did that one.
Good.
And they bring in, I forget if it's the documentarians or someone else, they bring in another art expert, and they say, it looks like all of these paintings that are being sold that they say Marla did look like they were done by one person. But then these two paintings that were done on film look like they were done by the same different person.
Whoa.
So the film never makes any claim, as to
Right.
who did it. It heavily implies that it was the dad who was
Yep.
either doing the paintings, or maybe like Marla would start them and he would finish them. Maybe it was more of a collaborative effort. But it's a really fascinating documentary about so many different things, and kind of just like the ridiculousness of art, in a sense.
Yeah.
Art for sale.
Right.
The monetary value of art is like kind of a sub theme of this movie that I found really fascinating. That it's not just the painting, it's the story, that goes
Yeah.
with it. And no one would have cared if she wasn't 5.
Right.
But also, like, so many of these people, I want to be like, have you met a 5-year-old? Like they just, there's this one gentleman, and he starts talking about this painting. It's very abstract. It's very like Jackson Pollock-y.
Mm.
And he starts talking about it as if there's intention. He's like, I love what she was doing here. And, the strokes that she used. And if you look in the corner, there's this blue door, and there's this figure behind the door. And as he's talking, the camera just slowly is zooming in on this like blue blob in the corner of the painting.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is wrong with these people? And when you see the girl painting, she's
Yeah.
just like putting paint on her hands, and like she's painting like a child. Like,
Right.
I've worked as a children's librarian. I've worked with children who, you meet a child and there's some sort of like preternatural intelligence in some children. And there's
Mhm.
some that just act like dumbass kids, because we're all
Yes.
dumbass kids because we hadn't had any time to learn anything.
Right.
And this girl behaves like a dumbass child. She's just your normal 5-year-old. And the fact
Yes.
that anybody thinks she's a genius is baffling to me. The whole thing is really fascinating. It's a really well-made movie. And there's a lot of really interesting interviews too. But I think one of the things that frustrated me the most, not about the movie, but about some of the people in it, is that they get like mad at 60 Minutes for doing this, because they're like, why would they do this to this family? And it's like, they're fucking lying.
Right.
Like, who cares that their victims are just rich people? Like, on a sense, I don't care. Sure, take the rich people's money for your paintings. I don't care about that. But like, 60 Minutes is doing their due diligence. Especially in 2007, we now live in a society where people will take anything they're told at fucking face value. Like, we need more of this. Like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
A 5-year-old Jackson Pollock, let's do some verification before I drop $12,000 on a painting.
Right. Yeah. Also, like, if that family thinks that they're famous enough to be on 60 Minutes, then maybe they need that reality check.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, there's even people on Letterboxd. There's Letterboxd reviews of this movie that are like, 60 Minutes is evil and like all this stuff. I'm like, what? 60 Minutes is not the villain here.
Yeah. This is why every news station is now behind a paywall. We need 60 Minutes.
Yeah, we do need 60 Minutes. And
Yeah.
oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get started on, there's some problems at 60 Minutes and I won't get started on this podcast. This is not a political podcast. But anyway, thank you, Amanda. Thank you for helping me talk about, what do we even talk about? The Dark and the Wicked.
Dark and the Wicked.
I got obsessed. There's dark and wicked things happening at CBS.
Yes.
The Dark and the Wicked movie.
Yeah.
And for sharing your love of Hamnet. We can't wait for Oscar season. We'll see how that goes. But thank you, Ghosties, as well, for listening to us talk about this movie. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can give us a like on YouTube. Wherever you find us, just click something nice for us. And share us with a friend. Until next time, stay ghosty. Boo-bye.